Image. The biggest storyline of the offseason isn't a highlight reel, it's a courtroom filing. The University of Cincinnati has taken its former starter to court, asking for a cool $1 million, and that legal threat hangs over every snap he takes in scarlet and black this fall. This isn't just transfer drama. It's revenue contracts colliding with the transfer portal, and right now one player stands at the center of a test case that could change how programs and athletes deal with money and movement. Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati, says Sorsby broke the terms of a revenue-sharing deal, a contract that paid him nearly $900,000 for a season in which the university claims he agreed to represent the program through December 2026. The lawsuit alleges a liquidated damages clause that triggers if he bolts early, and the school is seeking that $1 million. For a player who just cashed a massive NIL package by transferring to Texas Tech, the optics are explosive. A player chasing opportunity on one side, a school trying to protect an expensive contract on the other. This is why fans and media aren't just arguing about his arm anymore. They're arguing about whether the new money rules made college football a business first and a developmental league second. Sorsby's camp called the suit misguided, arguing Cincinnati already paid him $875,800 and that recovering funds now would be an unlawful penalty under Ohio law. His representatives say pursuing this will send the wrong message to current and future student athletes. That statement changed the tenor of the debate. It reframed the issue from a simple contract dispute into a broader fight about athlete rights and how enforceable these revenue share buyouts really are. The pushback matters because if courts side with schools, transferring elite players could become a legal minefield. If courts side with athletes, schools will have to write contracts differently or pay even more upfront. Put the legal drama aside for a second and ask a sharper question. Does the player on the field still justify the outrage? The numbers scream yes. In 2025, Sorsby completed 207 of 336 passes for 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns with just 5 interceptions. And he added 580 rushing yards and 9 rushing scores on only 100 carries. That's the kind of dual threat production that turns a good offense into a national contender. Those stats explain why Texas Tech reportedly committed a massive NIL package and why Cincinnati felt justified investing heavily in him. But numbers are tricky. They can be persuasive and partial at the same time. Comparing that output to last season and to other top transfer quarterbacks matters. Year over year, Sorsby sharpened his decision-making and cut turnovers. Compared to other portal QBs who command headlines, his touchdown-to-interception ratio and rushing upside put him in elite company. Yet, context shifts those comparisons. Systems differ, offensive lines differ, and the defenses you face in a new conference alter the raw translation of those numbers. So yes, the box score supports the hype, but ask whether the stats tell the full story, and suddenly the narrative loosens its grip. What the casual fan misses is the anatomy of the situation around him. This is not just one quarterback with arm talent, it's about the protection he will or won't get, the play calling he will be handed, and the receiver separation he can create under a new system. Texas Tech's offense last season leaned on transfer talent and maxed out on high-volume passing windows. They scored big, but also exposed QBs to pressure when the O-line couldn't sustain. If Sorsby arrives in Lubbock and faces subpar protection or a misaligned scheme, those pristine 2025 numbers will look different in 2026, and critics will pounce. Conversely, put a clean pocket, a smart run-pass game, and consistent receiver routes around him, and his ceiling rockets back up. The point, football is system-dependent, and judgments that ignore scheme are shallow. Then there's the sideline theater. Body language is a small detail that turns into a headline in an instant. Coaches watch him in practice. Teammates watch him. If he looks distracted, if he isolates himself, if he answers questions with legalese instead of leadership, the room will notice, and that quiet erosion of trust fuels gossip faster than any stat line. Conversely, if he leads through the noise, if teammates visibly rally and the coach publicly frames him as the guy to build around, the off-field storm becomes background noise. Right now, public statements are mixed, and the university's decision to sue is a loud, unavoidable signal that complicates chemistry. We have to talk about the bigger picture. This isn't just about one buyout. It's about how programs structure revenue sharing and how NIL deals interact with roster stability. For Cincinnati, the demand looks like an effort to protect program investments and set a precedent. For Sorsby and his representation, the case could determine whether athletes are free to move without punitive financial consequences after accepting compensation. There are salary cap parallels here for pro teams. If schools can recoup money, they might clamp down on transfer freedom. If athletes win, the portal becomes even more powerful leverage. Either outcome reshapes recruiting, contract language, and the economics of college football for years. Realistically, is this a make or break season for Sorsby? It could be. He arrives at Texas Tech with expectations sky high and a legal cloud that will be used by pundits and rival fans alike. If he stalls, the lawsuit becomes the easy narrative. He chose money and then failed to deliver. If he tears through defenses, the lawsuit will be background noise, a cautionary tale for administrators and lawyers. For the school that sued, a loss could undercut the enforceability of these contracts. A win could stiffen athletes considering late transfers. Both sides are playing for institutional precedent as much as immediate dollars. So what needs to change right now? For Sorsby, clarity and leadership. Public-facing unity, coaches, teammates, and his reps aligning behind a single professional message would blunt some of the friction. On the field, early season cohesion with the O-line and a play-calling plan that leverages his rushing instincts while keeping turnovers low will silence critics. For Cincinnati, a surgical media strategy explaining why contracts exist without appearing punitive would have been smarter than headlines about suing a former player. Lawyering up makes for a fight, but it doesn't necessarily win hearts. If things don't change, several realistic scenarios unfold. His role could be reduced as the noise distracts the roster. Trade rumors are already off the table, given college structure. But benching or an early season confidence crisis is very real. The legal fight could drag into the season and become a chronic storyline that affects team focus. Or conversely, he could explode for a Heisman-caliber run and transform this into a he showed them narrative. Each path will ripple through transfer markets, contract language, and how universities structure NIL going forward. Here's the thing. This isn't just about one player making the right throw. It's about an inflection point for college football. Will institutions enforce contractual boundaries around transfer dollars? Will athletes and their reps push back and redefine mobility and compensation? The answer starts with how the courts interpret this case and how Sorsby performs when the lights come on. And that, more than the filing itself, is what will determine whether this becomes a legal precedent or an off-season footnote. So what do you think? Is Cincinnati protecting its program's investments, or is this suit an overreach that threatens player freedom? Pick a side, make your case, and let's debate it.